Okay, IB Math AASL2. We've made it to the end of our first statistics target, which is called the descriptive stats target. So it's all about chapter 2 in your book, chapter 6 in your book. The first thing we did in this chapter is we talked about different ways to describe data. So I would know what the difference is between discrete data and continuous. Remember, discrete, there's like gaps in it, or it's like whole counting numbers. It's usually like, actually, the trick for this is that this is the result of counting, and this one is the result of measuring. Like any measuring. Sometimes it's like shoe size, and you're like, oh, it's continuous. Sampling techniques. We did briefly talk about the big 5 sampling techniques, which are convenience, simple random, systematic, stratified, and quota. Remember, those are all in 2.1 if you want to go back and look at the difference between all those. We also talked a little bit about skewed data. So know how to, by looking at like a histogram or really any representation, it could be frequency tables or anything like that, and be able to figure out if data is skewed positively or negatively. Speaking of frequency tables, know how to put data into a frequency table and then create a histogram out of it. Remember, histograms are for continuous data because the bars are not separate. They touch each other over the intervals. Well, not the opposite, but the other kind of thing that's not a histogram for more discrete data is a vertical bar chart. Measures of central tendency. These are the ones that you've probably seen before, mean, median, and mode, but we started doing them from more advanced viewpoints. I would know how to find mean, median, and mode from a frequency table or a class interval frequency table. Remember, if you have a class interval frequency table, you may have to use a midpoint of the interval. Know how to find mean, median, and mode from frequency tables or class interval frequency tables by hand and on a calculator. Remember, if you're doing this on a calculator with a frequency table, that the scores go into L1 and the frequency goes into L2, and then you have to be careful, like, which model of calculator you're using, because like an 83 doesn't have that nice menu that the 84 does, but there's still a way to do it with like parentheses and commas and stuff. Ask me in class if you've never found like the mean or anything like that from a frequency table, and I'll show you how to punch it into your calculator. Measuring dispersion is kind of the last topic in this unit. Know how to find quartiles. Remember, quartiles split the data up into 25% chunks. We might ask you about the range. That's just from the bottom to the top. It's the distance, like the max minus the min. I don't know if we use this word, the 5-number summary, because it didn't come up much in your book, but I've seen that come up in a lot of IB books and problems where they say, find the 5-number summary. So if they're asking you to find the 5-number summary, they want min, Q1, median, Q3, max. You may recognize those as everything that goes into a box plot. Know how to find the interquartile range, Q3 minus Q1, and know how to find check for outliers by checking the upper boundary and the lower boundary. I think these are sometimes called the fences as well, the upper fence and the lower fence. Remember, any data piece above the upper boundary or below the lower boundary is an outlier. Know how to make a box plot. Remember, your box plots with outliers need to have an asterisk on the outliers. Know how to construct a cumulative frequency curve. So given a frequency table with intervals, you can make a cumulative frequency curve. Then from that curve, you can find the interquartile range, the median, and the outliers. Last topic was variance and standard deviation. Remember, variance is just standard deviation squared, so they're very similar things. They both talk about the spread of the data. Know how to find these on a calculator and by hand. Might come up. All right, you guys, happy studying.